Today's video is going to be all about the beautiful Monstera Deliciosa. In this video, I'm going to share some interesting facts about Monstera Deliciosa and everything you need to know from watering, pest checking, best light conditions, fertilizing, and even cleaning it. So let's get going. Monstera Deliciosa, also known as a Swiss cheese plant, because of these beautiful leaves, are hugely popular houseplants. I have about 4 of them in my house, all in different rooms, and I will never say no to a Monstera. They are native to tropical rainforests in Central America, but they grow beautifully in our homes. If we can give them the right conditions, they can live for many years and become huge. Monstera Deliciosa means delicious monster, which is a bit of an odd name, but let me explain. Monstera means monster for these monstrous leaves that this plant is producing. Deliciosa means delicious because these wonderful plants can produce fruits that are edible, and it tastes a bit like a mixture of a banana and a pineapple. It's not uncommon for them to fruit in homes, but of course they fruit regularly when they are in their native tropical rainforests. So my mission is to have a Monstera fruit because my Monsteras have never fruited. Is that even a word? Bed fruit? Maybe that sounds a bit better. So my mission is to get one of my Monsteras to fruit, something I haven't accomplished yet. The holes in the leaves are called fenestrations, and in the wild, these holes have a purpose. It helps the plant withstand strong winds, so the wind blows through the holes and helps the plant to survive in the wild. These fenestrations allow the sun to filter through so that the lower leaves of the plant can get adequate light. So it's not just a hole in a leaf, it has a purpose, and especially in the wild, it helps the plant to survive the wind, also to make sure it gets adequate sun. Monstera are natural climbers, and in the wild, they use their aerial roots, and I'm going to attempt to show you what these roots look like. This plant I have here is a little bit out of control. I really need to repot it, and I keep saying it, but I haven't had the chance to do that yet. So my plant room is a little bit small for it, but I need to maybe put this plant in a different room in my home, although I love it in my plant room. And I need to repot it. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you what these roots look like. So these are roots, and in the wild, the plant uses its roots to climb onto trees and to natural surfaces to keep it upright, to keep it surviving. I have found these roots to dig into carpets in my home before, to dig into a natural wooden floor, because it's just natural for the plant to do that. So if you do have one of these plants, and if you find these aerial roots just lying around, just make sure you check it regularly and make sure that it's not digging into your carpets or into your wooden floors. The reason why we put a coir pole or a moss pole in for a Monstera is because it doesn't have a natural tree trunk or bark to hook onto. So these roots, I've got lots of roots that are entwined with this coir pole, and it just gives the plant extra support. The plant has outgrown the pot. The pole is still okay, but I really need to repot it and just to make sure that it's got better support. So that's the reason. So when your plant gets big enough, it does need a support. I have another plant which I'm going to show you that I've rescued from someone that didn't need it anymore, and it doesn't have a coir pole support. So you can see what it looks like if a Monstera doesn't have adequate support. They flop over, they don't have anything to grip onto. So let me go and get that plant and I'll show you what I mean. Just position this back. Try not to take everything else out in my plant room. I'm going to get that other plant just to show you what I mean. This lovely plant is obviously a lot smaller than the one I've just shown you, but it doesn't have any support. It's flopping over, it's got nothing to grip onto. There's a root here trying to find something to grip onto. So one of my jobs is to clean this plant up, give it some adequate support, and just to make sure it's a bit more stable and it's got the pole support that it needs to climb and to grow a little bit better. Because at the moment this plant's really confused. Oh, don't know what that was. Oh, it's a bit of the aerial root coming off. It's got a bit of a flaky skin at the top, which is fairly normal. But I need to give this plant adequate support. It's growing into all different directions. It doesn't know what to cling on to. It's literally just flopping all over the place. So one of my jobs this week is to give it a quiet pole, a clean up, and a really good fertilizer. Monstera Deliciosa love a bright room out of direct sun. It means that my plant gets some direct morning sun. You can see the direct sun coming onto the leaves in the morning. It gets that until about 10, 10:30, maybe even 11 o'clock if the sun isn't too harsh. But in the afternoon, as the sun moves over and that harsh afternoon summer sun is onto the leaves, that will just cause the leaves to burn. So I make sure this plant is in a spot that's bright with some natural windows, some natural light coming through, but it's never in a direct sun onto the leaves because the leaves will just burn. If you think about the plant in a natural rainforest, it's got lots of filtered light from tall trees above it, so it will never have direct sun because it will just damage the plant. So just check your plant. If you wanted to give it a bit of a light top up, pop it in some direct sun in the morning and late afternoon, but just make sure it's not scorching your leaves. Some common pests for Monstera are thrips. Thrips can be black in colour, they can be white in colour, and they are little bugs that crawl on the top, but mainly on the bottom of your leaves. So if you haven't yet inspected your Monstera leaves, go and do that and check the top and bottom part of your leaves. Let me show you what thrip damage looks like. To check for thrips, always check the top as well as the bottom part of leaves. Thrips can discolour your leaves by sapping all of the goodness and the energy out of a healthy plant. This is my cue to treat this plant very soon to stop the thrips from spreading and damaging my plant even further. I normally check my plants when I water, maybe once a week, every 2 weeks. I have a quick check over of the top and bottom part of the leaves, and when you check regularly, you can catch the pests quite quickly before they spread onto the rest of the plant, but also onto any of your other plants that you have. Another common pest that I find on my monsteras are fungus gnats, and you may have had them on your plants before, but they're the little black flies that fly all over, particularly around your face. I find they love a face, and you may find yourself wanting to just get rid of them and squash them. Fungus gnats lay eggs in damp soil, especially when we water quite a lot during the summer months because our plants are thirsty. It attracts fungus gnats and they lay eggs in the soil, they multiply really quickly, and if left untreated, it could damage the roots of your plant. So if you do have fungus gnats, lay off with your watering a little bit so that that top layer of your soil can dry out. These yellow sticky tapes work really well. I would normally just peel off the sides of this and stick it into the soil, which catches the fungus gnats. Of course, there are some other natural pest treatments, also like nematodes that you can use for fungus gnats, but I do find as a first port of call, these yellow sticky tapes work really well if you've got fungus gnats in your soil. So simply take your sticky tape and stick it around your pot, and very quickly fungus gnats will be accumulating and be attracted to that colour yellow, and they will stick to your yellow sticky tape, which will stop the reproductive cycle very quickly. As I inspect the leaves of my plant, I use a microfiber cloth, and I find this really relaxing. I just spend a bit of time just to clean the leaves. It also allows the plant to photosynthesize, and it gives me an opportunity just to check what's going on top and bottom part of my leaves. If I do this regularly, I always find that I catch thrips quite quickly and I can treat it rather than it spreading all over the place. For thrips, I use, to begin with, I use a horticultural soap and I spray it on the top and bottom part of my leaves. And if I catch it quickly, I normally find that that treats it really well. There are some other natural nematodes and things that you can use for all kinds of different pests, but that's another video for another time. But I will link the horticultural soap that I use in the bottom of this video. It's a good preventative measure as well for pests. I tend to use it every couple of weeks just to wipe the leaves of my plant and just to keep it nice and clean. But this glove works really well. It removes the dust to allow the plant leaves to photosynthesize, which means it grabs energy from the sun, natural resources from the sun, and it just leaves your leaves really nice and clean. I fertilise my Monstera during the growing season, and in the UK the growing season is around the beginning of April until the end of October-ish. So I use a liquid fertiliser every week or two, depending on what it says on the instructions. On your liquid fertiliser, it's really easy to do. I pour half a capful in my water and I water as normal. The reason I fertilise is to replenish and top up all of the nutrients that my plant is not getting, because when they're in the wild, they've got natural rain instead of tap water, they've got some bugs crawling around and some leaves decomposing, which causes a natural fertilizer for them, so they thrive in the wild. Whereas when they come into our space and placed into a pot, they may have central heating, they've got hard tap water, they may not get enough light, and those nutrients are depleted, they run out. So it's up to us to give them a natural fertilizer. And I can honestly say the difference I notice in my plants when I fertilise is enormous. So if you're not fertilising, I can really recommend. I will also link the fertiliser that I use below so that you can see if you want to fertilise your plants. It makes a massive difference to their growth and it just tops up their nutrients that they are not getting in the wild. These lovely plants are toxic to pets. If you have a dog or a cat that loves to chomp and munch on your leaves, just be cautious. It's also an irritant if consumed by a human. So if you have little children or babies that like to munch on your leaves, make sure to keep it away from them. These plants have calcium crystals in the stems and leaves, so it causes irritation to humans. It can make your throat itch or even swell up. It gives you an upset stomach. And generally not feeling really well if consumed. Monstera can be propagated really easily, and I often find it can be propagated in two different ways. Oh, I'm in a jungle here. This is not a bad thing, but I need a bit more room for these massive plants. The first way in which a Monstera can be propagated is by root division. I thought it might be easier just to show you this. I say small, it's not really small, is it? Smaller than that one. The first way is to propagate by root division. I'm going to attempt this slightly smaller plant to show you what I mean by root division. So I'm just removing the plant from the pot. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's messy. So, great opportunity to check the roots as well. The roots are looking really healthy. So root division simply means dividing the plant by root. So let me just remove some of the soil and then I'll show you what root division looks like. So I've removed some of the soil here and I could tell that there are several different plants in the pot. And it's really easy to separate by root if you've got several different plants. Coming away really easily is one of these little plants, and this is how you separate by root. It simply means pulling the roots apart. So here I have a smaller Monstera Deliciosa that I've separated by root. This can go directly into soil. It doesn't need to go into water because it's got some well-established roots already. So you can propagate as many different plants. If you have many different plants in a pot, simply pull them apart, and if the roots are looking healthy and well-established, you can pop them directly into fresh soil and you have yourself a brand new plant. Another way to propagate is by node cutting. If you don't want to propagate by root, you can simply find a node, and this is what a node looks like. These little sticky out root bits on a stem. So you'd simply cut underneath that node and wait for that cut to heal over, and then place the stem into water. In about 4 to 5 weeks time, you should start seeing some roots appear, and maybe in about 2 months time, those roots will be healthy enough to place into some fresh soil, and you've got yourself another new plant. When it comes to watering your Monstera, always allow the top 2 inches, which is I think is about 5 centimeters of the soil, to dry out before you water. If you don't know what inches or centimeters are, then simply stick your finger into the soil, and if it feels dry, if the top layer of the soil feels dry, it could be a good indication that it's time to water. If you're still not sure whether you need to water, then I'm going to reach over here. I can highly recommend a water meter. A moisture meter is what it's also called. On this moisture meter, if you've never seen one before, it's a great tool that tells you what goes on in the middle of the pot. In the soil where perhaps you can't feel whether it's wet or dry. So this moisture meter has a dry, moist or wet gauge. The gauge is always on dry, but as soon as you stick it into the soil, it tells you whether it's moist by moving into the middle or wet by moving completely to the other side. So I'm going to show you a close-up to show you what this does when it hits the soil, and it's a really good indication to tell you whether it's time to water or not. The gauge on the moisture meter will always be on number 1, but that soon changes. As soon as you stick it directly into the soil, you'll see that gauge changing to either moist or wet, or if your plant is dry, it will stay on number 1, 2 or 3. I know I've watered this satin pothos quite recently, and it tells me that the soil in the middle of the plant is moist. I can hold off for another few days before watering, but it's a really good indication, and it helps you to know what goes on in the middle of your pot. I wouldn't just use the moisture meter, use a bit of common sense. If you've watered your plant a few days ago and you know it will be wet, then of course you wouldn't water, but the moisture meter is just a really good additional checkup if you want to see what's going on in the middle of your pot. Never leave the moisture meter gauge or stem, I guess you could call it, in the soil, because it could just damage the reading part. Always take it out and give it a good clean up and store it somewhere outside of soil. If your Monstera leaves are turning yellow, it could be a sign of overwatering. It could be a sign of root rot, and if not treated, and if your watering schedule is not adapted accordingly, then the roots of your plant can die and it could kill your plant. So always check by feeling the soil. Use a moisture meter if that's an additional check that you'd like to use. And always, what I would say with Monsteras, especially for mine, less is more. Monsteras tend to curl in and droop a little bit when they dry. So if you'd rather be safe than sorry and hold off with your watering for a little bit, check out for the signs of slightly droopy leaves. Don't let it dry out too much, which will kill the plant as well. Check out for droopy, curled in leaves, and once you give your plant a drink, the leaves just plump back up again. If you can get a more consistent watering schedule during the summer months, then I would really recommend that. And I use a liquid fertilizer as well to top up on the nutrients like I've mentioned before. I hope you found that helpful. If you've got any questions about Monstera Deliciosa or would like to know anything that I haven't covered, please drop them in the comments below. But thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.